Move your finger
Oh, I
around,
feel it.
kinda
I
like-
feel it.
yeah.
I finally feel. I think I'm getting neuropathy on my fingers. Okay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the March 2020 of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency held in person, West Sacramento City Council chamber. Welcome, everyone. Good to be back. Start the meeting. We'll start the meeting if you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of the Republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, just. Thank you. We'll start out our agenda with presentation by the public on matters not on our agenda. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak at this time?
There are no comments received from the public beforehand, and I invite anyone now to speak if they have any comments not on the agenda.
Seeing none, we will move forward with the rest of our agenda. Item 1B, a report out on closed session.
Good morning, Chair Ramos. The board met in closed session on the 2 items listed on the closed session agenda and took no reportable action.
Thank you. Item 1C, monthly and year-to-date review of expenses, financial review and expenses.
Good morning, board members and staff. I will be reporting on the revenue and expenditures for the month of January 2023. In our O&M Fund 870, the balance started at approximately $4.07 million. Our agency received $2.73 million from the first installment of 2023 flood assessments. Expenditures totaled $16,000, making the ending position at $6.78 million. In our CIP Fund 871, the beginning balance was $6.18 million. There was no revenue, and expenditures totaled $1.17 million. This isn't our typical burn rate. It's usually around $200,000, but we did settle and pay out the claim for the De Silva Gates case. So that was about like $875,000 right there. So that kind of balances out. And so our ending position for Fund 871 was $5 million. At the end of the month, the combined cash position was $11.79 million. And as of February 7th, I think it was March. The agency's cash position was $11.2 million. So DWR is working on true-up payment for quarters 44 through 46. That's approximately around $1.6 million. We're also working on a retention release request. These payments will be the final payments under the EIP UFR program. Staff is also collaborating with the state to request advanced funding on the remaining Prop 1E funds for the construction funding agreement to WSAFCA. The funds will be used for work in kind, for example, geotech and survey work, and that will be under the Sac River West North Levee project, and 5% request for the federal project required under the PPA, which is the Project Partnership Agreement. With that, I conclude my report. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board? Okay, thank you very much. Very thorough. We'll move on to our consent agenda. We have 4 items today. Consideration of extension of an agricultural lease, a resolution for renewal of our general and public liability insurance, consideration of an extension of a contract with REY Engineers, and the minutes from our February 16th meeting. Is there any questions or comments on any of the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion to move the agenda.
A motion to approve. Second.
Been motioned by Director Sapuzio Hall and seconded by Vice Chair Akala. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Director Sulpicio Hull.
Aye.
Vice Chair Alcala.
Aye.
Chair Ramos.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you. On to our regular agenda. The first item is the WSAFCA project updates.
Good morning, Chair Ramos and board members. Really, the focus of what we have going on right now is it's all about the federal project, working in partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers and our other non-federal partner, the state of California. So I wanted to give a quick update regarding the economic update that the Corps did, that they just completed, where they did revision of our benefit cost ratio based on current costs and benefits, and our benefit cost ratio went down slightly from 2.2 to 2.0, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still considered a pretty robust benefit cost ratio for economic support. Our Yolo Bypass East Levee project, the South Reach, is out to bid right now. Bid opening is end of the month, March 28th, and a contract is expected to be awarded mid-May. The engineer's estimate on that construction project is about $7 million, pretty small in the grand scheme of things. The other, and with that, I wanted to update the board. The Corps was unable to get the designer of record, MGE, under contract in time to support bidder questions during the bid process. So exercising the authority that the board has granted myself as the general manager, I entered into a contract on behalf of the agency with MGE for $18,000 to provide that bid support. This will count as work in kind towards the project, so it's not no money lost there. But that way, the project was able to stay on schedule for bid, and we should be good to go. The Corps is still working on getting them under contract so that they can provide services, engineering support services during construction for both the South Reach and then the North Reach a little bit later this year, which I'll talk about next. So Yolo Bypass East Levee, North Reach. That is currently with the cost estimating and construction group. They're planning to go out to bid end of May. Contract award around end of August, I think, is what's currently on the schedule. It will remain to be seen. Notice to proceed typically follows that, sometimes by 4 to 6 weeks. So we'll have to see later this year whether or not, based on that schedule, whether we can construct in the fall or whether we'll need to delay start of construction till spring of 2024. But we should be under contract either way by the end of the year. On the Sacramento River West-North Levee, that's the one where we're currently supporting the PED work, the preliminary engineering and design for that reach for the Corps, geotechnical work, survey work, vis-a-vis the item you approved just a few minutes ago to continue the bathymetry and other work at the lower reaches of that, the Sac River North Levee. Most of the work is complete with the exception of the survey work with Ray. Well, I shouldn't say that. The survey work with Ray is delayed a little bit, the bathymetry work anyways, because of the high river levels. So as soon as that, and I don't know when that river level is going to go down, quite frankly. A lot of rain has fallen in the higher elevations, which is still working its way through the system. So it may be weeks before they are able to get out there to do that bathymetry work. But that's going to be critical for providing data to the Corps to see where any erosion repair work might need to be done along the river. Meanwhile, on the geotech side, the Corps is preparing a geotech memo that's due end of this month, and they're working on the geotechnical basis of design report, which we'll be able to review in the coming weeks. Once those are finalized, then the Corps will be able to start design in earnest for the two northernmost segments on the Sac River North Levee, which is the segment 1 is basically between the Sac Bypass and our Rivers project, right behind Bright Park. And then segment 2 extends from Rivercrest down towards the Indian Heritage Center and towards the boat ramp. So those are the first 2 segments that we're going to be, Corps will be looking to design, absent any other information or complications from the work that we're doing. And then the other thing we're working on the Corps with relative to geotech and is in segment 4, which is essentially the bridge district on down to the Stone Lock, which is where we have the quote-unquote high ground and highest ground in our city. You don't actually see a normal levee like you would in Southport, for example, where you look up and see the triangular levee. So we're starting some work with the Corps to define where the buried levee prism is, to define it, and then determine from that what type of work, if any, needs to be done in that district, in that REIT, in terms of remediation. So for Sac River North, I think that's about what we have going on. And then on our federal budget advocacy work, we received pretty good news on March 9th with the release of the Army Corps budget, part of the President's budget. We were expecting $57.5 million or so, and we got close to 53 recommended in the President's budget. So and now our effort is to have that stick through the year and end up in the Energy and Water Appropriations Bill for FY24. So if all goes according to schedule, that bill should be adopted prior to October 1st of this year. In the meanwhile, the Corps has just shy of about $100 million in funding to date that they'll be using to construct the two reaches we talked about, as well as design Sac River North. I think lastly, I'll report out there's a risk-informed design effort that the Corps undertakes now for all of its projects. They bring in experts from across the nation that work for the Corps. Ours has been assembled. We're having preliminary meetings now. They're going to be doing a site visit in April, the week of April 10, to literally tour all of our levee sites, and then we'll be working with them on evaluating our entire levee system from Sac River North, is where we're going to start, the two reaches planned for design, then through Stone Lock, and then the rest of the reaches, they will review existing data and help the Corps formulate its position and recommendation for what the likely remediation measures are going to be, absent any other follow-on geotech or other work that may occur. So it's going to start helping to shape the footprint of all of the coming projects. And that effort's probably going to take, for the entire system, probably more than a year, but we'll report out as that effort is underway. We'll report out any milestones and or recommendations that come from that group.
Hey, Greg, is this similar to the 3 experts that we had going through the Southport project, or is it just on a
No, I would say it differs in that the
scope?
Yeah, the experts are taking a look at what you've designed,
okay,
and going through some robust analysis to say, yes, that's the correct design. This is more in advance of that to steer folks towards
design.
A good, a more cost-effective and appropriate design. And they could recommend alternatives. All things being equal, you can choose between this or that. Do we do a slurry wall or a seepage berm or some combination thereof? What does the project footprint look like? What does real estate acquisition look like? So, anyways, it's more forward-looking than the board of senior consultants, which I think.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. And they'll be involved in looking at the high ground, as you called it, as well, huh?
That's correct.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. And then other than that, the one last thing that I think the report says under NFIP, nothing to report. I don't have a lot to report, but there was a hearing that was convened by the committee in D.C. the week of March 7th with really no resolution. Democrats focusing on affordability and Republicans focusing on some sort of privatization for insurance carriers. I'm sure there will be draft bills proposed in the coming weeks, months, possibly years. We'll keep an eye on it and report out as we hear and what we know. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions you have on the material presented and or what's in the progress report.
Yeah. No.
Thank you very much for this update. I'm really pleased with where we're at as, the newest member of this agency. It's, as a resident sitting here, knowing that our community is safe, and we're working incredibly hard on a bunch of different levels to make sure that our residents did. With the as you mentioned, the melting of the snow and what's going to happen in the future. As residents possibly get more concerned, do we have any plan to kind of educate or share on social media or communicate with folks kind of where we're at outside of the regular City of West Sacramento updates? Because I think we're doing a really great job, and I'd like to be able to communicate that with folks as we move forward.
So there is a plan, a loose plan anyways, to make a presentation at a city council meeting in the coming months. Perhaps after award of contract and a firm schedule for our first construction contract. You know, Yellow South might be a good time to come with some concrete information about what folks could expect to see. And then we can give an update on the overall program and the impending schedule. So that is in the works. Is that kind of what you're?
Yeah, I think my concern is, and in the next, as you mentioned, the next couple of weeks, as the river levels probably continue to rise, assuring residents that we're in a really great position and we're doing everything that we can to make sure that their, homes and livelihoods are.
Yeah, and the city has a good PR program that we work very closely with. And I would direct folks to the city's website.
Okay.
There is some more recent information that's been posted that shows graphics of what these various river levels, monitor stage, flood stage, danger stage, what they mean relative to a levied system like we have here. And any one of those levels that I talked about or just mentioned are all well below top of levee for us. So that graphic, I think, could be super helpful for folks who hear these terms and might get worried. Go to the website, check out the graphic. It's pretty illustrative.
Perfect. So you mentioned that it's on the city's website.
Yep.
Okay.
And we put it. We also think it's on the. There's links to it on the homepage. We also updated the flood page relative to emergency preparedness. It's also there as well.
Perfect. Thank you for having that information there.
You bet.
I think the idea of a presentation at council is a good idea to kind of refresh everybody as to what this whole program is and where we are with the federal participation now. So look forward to that. And then as far as, keeping the public informed, I think mentioning that the reclamation district's involved too, what their role is good versus WSAFCA makes sense. Thank you, Greg. Next item is 6B, Director's Comments. Any particular comment? My only comment is it's good to be back here in person, a little more access for the public going forward if, things come up. So great to be back here in person. So with that, if there's no other comments, we'll go to item 6C, which is adjournment. Thank you all.